I am making an ice barrier deck profile. I've been messing around with the deck a little bit, and this is technically still an experimental version, as I am still trying to remember how the deck is supposed to be played. So for now, it's just what I have, which is I start off by playing 3 copies of Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier. Hexa has the effect that while you control another ice barrier monster, you can special summon it from your hand. Or special summon from your hand. I always misread that. While you control another ice barrier monsters, all monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack and defense. During your main phase, you can send level 3 or lower ice barrier monster from your deck to the grave to increase its level by the same amount until the end of the turn. And then you can only use each effect of Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier once per turn. Next, I play 2 copies of Zujin of the Ice Barrier. Zujin has the effect that you contribute a special summon level 5 or higher ice barrier monster from your hand. If this card's in your graveyard, other than turn the instant there, you can target one level 3 or higher water monster in your water monster you control. Reduce its level by 2, and if you do, special summon this monster, but banish and leaves the field. This is mainly, I believe this monster mainly has this effect because you can use it when trying to summon monsters like Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Then I also play 3 copies of Prior of the Ice Barrier. Prior has the effect that while you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but if you do, you cannot special summon monsters at level 5 or higher for the rest of the turn. So if you use Prior effect, you're going to be going into strictly Xyz monsters. And then you contribute this card to then target one ice barrier monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target. So you can special summon them to summon cards like Toad, or you can contribute them to summon back level 4 monsters for rank 4 plays. And then I also play 1 copy of Cryomancer of the Ice Barrier. Cryomancer just makes the level 4 or higher monsters just can't attack while you control another ice barrier monster. And then I also play 1 copy of Defender of the Ice Barrier. I'll just put it here. Defender just says that while you have another ice barrier monster, your opponent cannot declare attacks with monsters that have attack greater than its defense. And then for supporting monsters, I play 3 copies of Silent Sea Nettle. Silent Sea Nettle is just a free body that locks you into water for the rest of the turn, which is fine because every monster you summon in this deck is water. And then you can banish from your graveyard, target up to 3 water monsters in your grave, shuffle them into the deck. And you can only use each of its effects once per turn. Then I also play 3 copies of Silent Angler. Silent Angler can be special summoned from your hand by controlling a water monster, but if summoned this way, you can't summon from your hand for the rest of the turn. Or you cannot special summon, I should say. Then I play 3 copies of Speaker of the Ice Barrier. Speaker has the effect that you control another ice barrier monster. Defense monsters your opponent controls cannot change their battle position. And then you can only use each of the following effects of Speaker of the Ice Barrier once per turn. Those effects being that if you control an ice barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you control an ice barrier monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon an ice barrier token that is a level 1 water aqua with 0 attack and defense. And then I also play 3 copies of Revealer of the Ice Barrier. Revealer has the effect that while you control another ice barrier monster, your opponent can't tribute summon. And then you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Which are the effects, so you can discard 1 card, special summon ice barrier tuner from your deck. However, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters type water. Again, every monster you summon in this deck is water. And then if you would discard or send cards from your hand to the graveyard to activate an ice barrier monster's effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead of one of those cards. The main thing you want is that you can discard cards, summon a tuner. And then I play 3 copies of General Wayne of the Ice Barrier. General Wayne has the effect that spells and traps on your opponent's spells and traps sent from the field to your opponent's graveyard are banished instead. And then you can only use each of the following effects of General Wayne once per turn. Where if your opponent controls a monster and you control an ice barrier monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. When this card is normal or special summon, you can add an ice barrier spell or trap from deck to your hand. Then to finish off the monsters, I play one copy of General Grunard of the Ice Barrier and one copy of Medium of the Ice Barrier. General Grunard just gives you an additional normal summon, and he's a big body, so I figured why not play at least one for now, just testing it. And then Medium of the Ice Barrier just says that if your opponent has 4 or more cards than you do, you can special summon this card. If your opponent controls 4 or more cards, you can special summon this card, and then while it's on the field, your opponent can only activate one spell or trap each turn. And then for the spells, I'm playing one copy of Mirror of the Ice Barrier. Mirror of the Ice Barrier just has the effect that during the turn it's activated, you apply its effects depending on where cards you control are banished from. So, like, I'm only playing the one because in the off chance that I play against Sword Soul because Chinging. And then I would side 2 more because, again, Sword Soul. I don't like them. But it has the effect that if a card is banished from your hand, you can banish up to 2 random cards from your opponent's hand. If a card is banished from your field, you can banish 2 cards from your opponent's field. And if a card is banished from your graveyard, you can banish 2 cards from your opponent's grave. Which, as long as I'm reading it correctly... So yeah, if your opponent does something like activate Chinging effect, you can chain Mirror the Ice Barrier, so that after this resolves for the rest of the turn, and if any of your cards get banished, you can banish 2 from the same place that your opponent banished, unless it was from deck. Then for another one I play one copy of Magic Triangle of the Ice Barrier. Magic Triangle just lets you reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names. Target 1 card of the field, destroy it. Draw 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it, and then you can special summon an Ice Barrier monster from your hand. I am only playing the one of because I figure why not try it at 1. If I don't like it, it can come out for hand traps. Then I play 2 copies of Winds over the Ice Barrier. Winds over the Ice Barrier lets you tribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters to special summon from your deck that many level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters with different names from each other. And then during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 of your Ice Barrier monsters that's banished on your graveyard to return to your hand. And you can only use each effect of Winds over the Ice Barrier once per turn. Then I also play 3 copies of Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. Freezing Chains has the effect that when a card is activated, you can target level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard, special summon it. While you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's activated monster effects that were specifically summoned from the extra deck. You can only activate 1 Freezing Chains per turn. I don't know why my mind was trying to finish the text, but oh well. So pretty much you activate it, your opponent activates it, or you activate it, summon an Ice Barrier from your graveyard. Because I realized I butchered it. It's when you activate it, you target a level 4 lower Ice Barrier, summon it, and while you control 3 or more Ice Barriers, your Ice Barrier monsters are unaffected by your opponent's extra deck monsters' activated effects. Then I play 3 copies of Medallion of the Ice Barrier. Medallion just lets you add an Ice Barrier monster from deck to hand. And to finish off the deck, I figured since this is Ice Barrier, I'd play 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, because Ice Dragon's Prison relates to Trishula. Trishula is the dragon of the Ice Barrier, so therefore, why not play it? Ice Dragon's Prison just lets you target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, summon it to your field, and then you can banish 1 monster from both sides of the field that have the same type. So like if you're playing against Dragon Link, you can target one of their monsters in their graveyard that, like if they're using a bestial effect, targeting one of their own monsters in grave, you can use this, target their summoned monster, summon it to your field, and then banish a dragon from both fields. That is it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, and I'm actually going to try doing this just to get Glare out of the way. I play 3 copies of Toad, and the glare is still there. Okay. Toad just lets you send an Aqua from hand or field to grave as a generic negate, and then you negate the activation, destroy it, and if you do, you can then set the destroyed card to your field. Which the setting the card is optional, so if your opponent does activate something that you know you can't use, that doesn't have a grave effect, you don't have to set it. And then if this card is sent from field to grave, or if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can then target 1 water monster in your grave, and then return it to the hand, I believe. It's either hand or deck. Okay, you add it back to your hand, which Toad can actually return itself, which I think is kind of funny. And when you and if you have 2 Toads in your grave with this next monster, it's doubly funny, kind of. I play 2 copies of number 4 Stealth Kraken. Stealth Kraken has the effect that changes all monsters in the field to water. Once per turn during the main phase quick effect, if you destroy 1 water monster your opponent controls and deal damage equal to half of that monster's attack on field. And then, if this XE summoned card is destroyed while it had Xyz material, you can special summon Stealth Kraken spawns, which I play 2 of, from the extra deck for each material it had. And then Stealth Kraken spawn is the exact same thing as Stealth Kraken, except it doesn't change everything to water and it does not burn. And the other thing with Stealth Kraken is you can take a target water monsters in your grave for each Stealth Kraken you summon, and then, or each Stealth Kraken you would summon, and then attach those water monsters to them as material. So you can actually summon a Stealth Kraken spawns, target Toads there in grave, attach them to spawn as material, and then when the spawn leaves the field, Toad's effect will activate again. Which I've only ever been able to do that against decks like Dogmatica because of how Maximus makes you send 2. So I like to just send 2 Toad. Toad can put either themselves back in the extra deck or give me 2 water monsters from grave that I want back. Then I also play 1 copy of Bahamut Shark. This lets you summon Toad from the extra deck. However, it can't attack the rest of the turn after you use its effect. And then for the Synchros, I play 1 copy of Duloran, Tiger King of the Ice Barrier. Duloran just lets you return any number of cards from your field back to your hand, to then be able to gain 200 attack for each card until the end of the turn. It gains 500 attack for each card returned to the hand by this effect. This is mainly just in here so that if you have freezing chains that you want to back in your hand, so you can reactivate it again. If you activate it 1 turn, it's still there, so on the next turn you can return it to your hand, activate it again. Or if you just need something to get over a large body, so I honestly don't really know how I feel about Duloran other than I can use it to use freezing chains of the ice barrier over and over. And then I play 1 copy of Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Brionac, it lets you discard any number of cards. Let's see, when was it? Okay, once per turn you can discard any number of cards, target an equal number of cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand. Then I also play 1 copy of Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Gungnir has the effect that once per turn you can discard up to 2 cards, then target a single number of cards your opponent controls and destroy them. Then I play 3 copies of Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Trishula has the effect that when it's Synchro summoned, you can banish up to 1 card each from your opponent's hand, field, and grave. So if your opponent doesn't have anything on field or in grave, you can still banish 1 from hand, which typically won't be summoning this on your first turn anyway, but I just like it because Trishula is the main boss monster of the Ice Barrier, and for the Dual Terminal Chapter 1 lore, Trishula literally kills everyone, so figure why not. I guess technically freezes everyone solid. But then for the last card, I play 1 copy of Trishula Sub-Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier, or at least that's what its name should have been. But it has the effect that when this card's Synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. And then if this Synchro summoned card in its owner's possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can special summon a Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, from your deck, and from your extra deck or graveyard. I forget what it is. I'm trying to remember what it does without reading it. But it has the effect that when Synchro summon, banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. And this card its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card. You special summon a Trishula from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack becomes 3,300. Then have the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls. Also negate their effects. You can only use each effect of Trishula, 0, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, once per turn. The main thing I like about this is that you can summon it, banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls. If they have something bigger than it, you can, like if they have something like a 3,000 body, you can technically crash this into it, summon a Trishula from your extra deck, have it become 33 while having everything your opponent controls and negating their effects, and then you can just attack with the Trishula. But that is it for my Ice Barrier deck profile. If you have ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any decks I see face each other, like Ice Barrier versus Worm, for example. Or have any ideas decks I see be made in the future, like I am currently planning on making a, I think it was called Tistina. Is it a Tistina or Tristina? I want to say it's Tistina. The new slime archetype from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Nexus. I don't know why I could not remember the name. But if you have any ideas what I can make in the future, feel free to comment down below. Thanks for watching.